Hi guys, welcome back to OC Avery and I'm Oliver. Now, we've had quite an interesting week in the bird rooms, so you'll see that last week or a few days ago we uploaded a video on my new flights, so that's what I've been keeping quiet for so long. So we're going to start by visiting the flights. We're going to take a closer look at the birds that are in there and talk a quick bit about them and a few different things that I haven't mentioned in that video and we'll talk about today. We're going to catch up with all the rest of the birds. We're going to do an update on all of them. We've got some new arrivals in this bird room and we've got plenty to talk about as well. We do have some heartache which we'll come to towards the end of this video. So anyway, I hope you enjoy and please stick around for the end of the video. So to begin, we're back at the flights as I unveiled them last week. So if you haven't seen that video, the link will be up here. Make sure you watch that because this is when I first showed them and tell you a little bit about them. But now we're going to look at the birds that are currently in them, bit of future plans for them and just a bit more on them, I guess. So there's clearly nothing in this first flight, but I just need to get a weaning cage for that. We're currently using that for the dimorphics. But we've done a little bit of a change about. So in here, we've got two Norwich cocks, two over-year birds. Literally just put them in here just to keep them fit was the reason. I just wanted to sort of get them out of the way, get them fit, make sure that when we do need them to fill eggs, they'll be filling eggs, which is the idea. In here now, after speaking to Kevin Taylor, he'd recommended actually keeping young greenfinches in smaller groups so they have less chance of going light and less chance of panicking. So what I've got in here are the 5 youngsters from the best pair of normals, you know, from the Evans and Pontin cockbird to the Palmeeg hen. Those guys are getting on really well, and I've definitely noticed them much more calm having them in their own flight rather than 11 of them together. In here we've got hard seed. They are actually eating hard seed. We've got baycocks in their water, and well, they've thrown it everywhere and demolished it, but I had egg food in that as well. We've got a bath down on the floor. Coming to these guys, these are the 6 pied youngsters we had fostered. These guys are doing well, obviously smaller birds than the others, but that's to be expected considering they're not from proper exhibition lines, but that is something I'm hoping to develop. So those guys are getting on well. Again, baycocks, hard seed, and well, it was egg food before they destroyed it and covered it in normal seed, but either way they're doing well, they're getting on well. They are on hard seed and egg food. I'm always going to give them egg food, especially as youngsters. So we'll probably get all of the youngsters on vitamins soon to just help them as they start to molt. And then we've got our 5 canaries here. These youngsters are doing well. We've got our 2 yellow dimorphics and our 3 fifes. We've got the 5, which is, well, second to the left bird. That's the cinnamon. And we've got the clear in the middle, clear yellow, and we've got the variegated buff there. And then obviously we've got our 2 dimorphics. They're getting on well. They're older than the greenies, so we've got them on a bit of baycocks just to keep it all right. We've got them on hard seed as well as egg food, which they've since destroyed, and of course baths in all of these flights. So really, with all of that, they're getting on well. All the birds are happy in these flights, and yeah, I've also just put an extra layer of plastic at the top just for a bit of extra shade just while it's hot. It's been about 25-26 degrees all week, but also a bit of a question has been about seed going through the bottoms. I am brushing them out quite regular and taking away that seed, but what I am going to do is buy some plywood and I'm just going to ply out the bottoms, I think, give it a paint and you know, just make it a bit of an extra better finish. Just so it's easy and we don't get any seed really dropping through. I think that would be a better way to go. As always, we always start with the canaries. So we're going to have a look at the canaries. We're going to see how they're getting on. We've got some exciting developments with those guys over this past week. And we're going to have a few things to look at and talk about with those. So we're going to start with our pair of yellow dimorphics. Their chicks have fledged the nest, all 3 of them. So we've got one here, and we actually have the other 2 just there. Now this is the weaning cage. We've got egg food in here, fresh egg food, and I'm just letting the youngsters sort of pick up from in there, and we're just going to see how they get on with weaning. We come to the eggs at the nest. She's rebuilt a nest. We've got first egg today, which is great. Now I'm probably not going to have her go another round, although the egg might be full. We might try and foster it elsewhere. But for the moment, at least with these guys, I do want to use them as feeders now for natives, whether that be Greenfinches, Bullfinches, maybe even Redpolls or something. So we'll have a look at those guys next week, and I'm sure by then I'll have made a decision to what these guys will be rearing, and we do have some of the canaries we could put underneath them. Coming to our pair of yellow satinets, we have the hen here. She laid 3 eggs, and I've actually put 5 eggs underneath her, which were laid around the same time, because we're going to look at a pair later, what they're fostering. But there's a couple of eggs in there. I don't know if they're full yet. She's only been sat about 2 days, so we'll see how they get on. Coming up to the pair of Norwich. Now you'll notice the cockbird isn't in here. We're going to have a look at him because he's out in the flights. But we've got some good news. The Norwich have began finally, after a month of absolutely nothing from this pair. We have got, if I can move her tail out of the way, 3 eggs from the Norwich. Now I don't know if they're full. She's only been sat 2 days, so I am tempted to use her her eggs to put underneath the yellow dimorphics and see if they'll rear them, but I want to see if they're full first rather than putting them under there. I'd rather get some natives reared by her. Unless don't have anything, then we'll do that. Coming down to the rest of these guys, the fifes are getting on well. You'll notice the Bullfinch chick, we will talk about a little later and how he's getting on, but these guys are doing well. I think they'll want to go for another round shortly. We've got this pair of fifes. These guys are doing well, and once again, her eggs, she laid those eggs which are under the yellow satinet, but I've actually got on some Redpoll eggs. So this is the first time for me I've actually had a canary hatch them. I've had canaries rear Redpolls, but we'll see how they get on. But I know 4 of those 5 are full. And then we'll come to this pair now. We had the Goldfinch cock in here. I've just moved him away, but we've got the hen in here. Sadly, the egg, which was full from the Goldfinch cock, which would have been a Goldfinch mule, didn't hatch. But what we do have in here are 4 fifes from the pair we've already bred from. As you can see, chicks are doing well. We've got 3 black eyes and 1 red eye. The red eye obviously will be a cinnamon, so we'll see if that turns out to be a clear or a coloured cinnamon. But either way, 5 chicks, all doing well. This is the first time of her rearing, actually. She's a young hen, last year's bird, and well, she's doing a remarkable job so far, so I'm very pleased with that. So we're going to let her rear these, get the hang of it, and then we'll get the Goldfinch cock back in with her, and hopefully he'll thread her and we'll get something from them. So looking at the Redpolls, it's always exciting to see what's happening that week, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Well, I'm pleased to say that this week has been a bit of an uplifter with the Redpolls, and we're going to look at some of the young birds that we've now got on the sticks. We're going to look at the development of the other birds and more developments with those guys. So I'm really looking forward to showing it to you. We always begin with the top pair. So this is our normal split Feo cockbird to the normal hen. I mean, she could be split Feo. From the breeder. She's a few years old, and that was when he had a lot of Feos. But either way, we've had the good news from, she's actually on 3 eggs. So all it took was a little bit of a move, which you saw last week. We moved that pair from a lower down cage into here, and within a week they've clicked, and she is on 3 lovely little eggs. So she only laid 3, but she's obviously not reared this year. So I'm just going to leave her with those 3, and we do have some eggs which are set around the same time, which will come to next, which I'll probably get her to foster as well with them should we need to. So we'll come down to our pair of cinnamons. These are some of the better birds in the shed. The hen is back down. She is on 6 eggs once again. She's quite happy to lay clutches of 6, and I'm quite happy to let her do that. So, as we know, these guys have now this is their 3rd clutch now, The first round they didn't feed, the second round they didn't feed, but we fostered, which we'll look at later. So I'm going to probably let her sit those for the moment. And I have got a pair in mind, which I'll probably use them to foster, whether we use Canaries or we use another pair of Redpolls. But it might end up where I've set these around the same time as these, so I might take 2 or 3 of those eggs, put them in there when they're hatching, and let her have some, and then the other 3 we'll put elsewhere with some other youngsters. This pair have been a nightmare once again with clear eggs. I'm probably going to... I mean, I've considered actually putting these cinnamon eggs underneath this pair just to give them something to do, rather than that hen now going to lay a 4th round, which are all clear. I think I'll end up doing that. I'll let her sit the eggs she lays for maybe 2 or 3 days, see if they're full, which would be a miracle if they are, and I hope they are. But if they're not, then we'll probably get some cinnamon eggs under her, or do something of that sort, just to try and get them to do something. If not, we have got a few spare cockbirds to look at, which we could then put in with her. We've got a normal pied, well actually 2 normal pieds, but one is paired to a different hen, so that's those guys. We'll come down here. We had the normal pied cockbird to the cobalt pied hen. As you can see, she is sat here, and great news, we've got some youngsters underneath her. So we've actually got youngsters from 3 pairs here. We've got 2 youngsters from the agate pastel hen to the normal split agate, split cinnamon, split Isabel, split pastel cock. So there's 2 youngsters in there. I think there's the 2 lighter sort of pink skinned youngsters. I think one's an agate and maybe one's a cinnamon. I'll have to have a look. We've got 2 from herself, so they'll be normal cross cobalt, so it'll be normal, realistically normals or single factor cobalts. And then we also have 2 cobalts in here from our cobalt cross cinnamon split brown pastel hen, which we'll come to later on. From the other shed, and we'll talk about why these youngsters are in there. But there's 6 youngsters in there. She's actually been feeding really well, so that's good to see. Don't worry about that chick upside down. I think it's just because she come off the nest. I can sort that in a second. We'll come to our pair of cobalts to produce our double factors, and it's just been a bit of a nightmare, to be honest. I think this hen might have gone into a light molt, and I don't know why. Really not sure what's actually happened. She's looking a bit scraggy. I don't know if it's the cockbird boy in her or what, but I put a bit of a different nest on, so we've got a pine nest on there now. She has began building, I guess, but no serious attempt, so I'm considering splitting this pair up, maybe putting a different cockbird in or something. We've got our cinnamon hen to an Isabel cockbird. They are getting on really well. I removed the cockbird the other day, put him back in. He threaded her right away. She's rebuilt. So what I am now going to do is get those guys to lay a clutch, and then once the hen's sat, I'm going to remove the cockbird, because I actually think now, after talking with a few breeders, it's most likely that the cockbird's trying to drive the hen to go again and pulling her off the nest. So I'm just going to remove the cockbird once the hens began sitting. Hopefully that'll do the trick and we'll get some youngsters from her. These guys have been our stars so far with the Redpoll chicks. We've got the normal pastel cock to the cobalt hen. All 5 of their youngsters are doing brilliant, and they've rebuilt. So you'll notice we've got this little mutation here. I don't know what the white cinnamon youngster is. Really don't know. It's just like a half. It looks like a brown pastel, but I don't think it is. Unless the father is split cinnamon and also double factor. It's a double factor pastel, but I don't know. We also have the youngster at the back, which is a bit of a sort of a bluey grey colour, a weird one. Really not sure with those 2. But then we also have the little the little cobalts as well. They look fabulous. Really pleased with them. But yeah, those 5 are doing well, and they are beginning to feed themselves, so I'll probably have these guys weaned by next week's video. We'll come to our pair. So these guys have the youngsters hatch in this hen's nest. Well, they're getting on well. It's they're fostered chicks from the cinnamon line. Those 3 are doing really well. They are now rung. I rung them at the weekend. They're almost fully feathered, so I don't think it'll be too long before those guys are actually ready to leave the nest, which is great to see. I'm really pleased with them. We'll see how they get on. Now, just a quick note from these guys, they had the 5 eggs, 4 are full, and actually they are what's under this hen here. I just wanted to take the opportunity, because she didn't bother even sitting those eggs, I just thought the best thing I can do is remove them. We put them under her, and then we'll get hopefully some youngsters from this pair, which would be great. And you know, we'll get some Isabel hens and some normal split Isabel cocks. Sorry, cinnamon split Isabel cocks. So just fingers crossed that we get something from those guys, so we've got a good mix of blood for next year, and you know, plenty to work with. So I mentioned that the chicks from this pair had to be fostered by the Cobalt hen, who's already got the 4 youngsters, and I think she's capable of 6. That hen, she's fostered for me last year. You know, she had chicks of her own last year as well, so I'm trusting her. But this hen then, I found the youngsters this morning after removing the cockbird, who had clearly thrown some of the youngsters out of 7 eggs. 6 were full, all 6 hatched, and 4 disappeared within a night, which is terrible. So I removed the cockbird. He's in here. We've got the hen there. Well, she's now just on the, you know, she's just got an empty nest. I'm probably going to change the cockbird with her. I'm actually going to put the normal pied bird in with her just to get some youngsters from him, because we do think possibly there could be a chance of it being a different, different pied mutation. But that's those guys, and the 2 youngsters were stone cold this morning. Now, I warmed them up in my hand, brought them back round, and put them in a different nest because I just couldn't trust her. I mean, she's a last year's bird. She's never bred before, so I'm just kind of hoping that second round lucky we might get something off her, which would be nice. So now we're going to talk about the Greenfinches. We've got our normal pair outside. They've got 5 eggs, which are due in about 3 or 4 days time, I think. So with that, we'll hopefully have some young Greenfinches second round to look at from those guys, which would be really nice. I don't believe I have any youngsters due around the same time as those guys. So if I need to maybe top them up, then I will. But obviously I do try and prefer to let the parents do it themselves. But we'll see how they get on, and hopefully, all going well, they'll rear all 5 hatch, which would be nice. So we'll have a look at those guys in a second. But then we can move on to the pied birds in the other shed. So the Greenfinches have been a little bit tough this week. We're going to talk about this pair first, which is the parent to the pieds we currently have in the flights. Their chick sadly didn't make it. They had one chick, I don't know why, she was feeding, and then it just sort of flopped. She's rebuilt, and all I can do is I'm going to leave her to lay the whole clutch, and then I'm going to remove the cockbird so there's no interference from him, whether that be pulling the head off. Sorry, there was a hybrid pair mating, which we'll talk about a little later. Anyway, so Greenfinches, they've rebuilt now, and we're just going to have to let her do another clutch. We're going to remove the cockbird, put him elsewhere, and hopefully then from that she rears. Unlucky, but sometimes it does happen. That's breeding natives and not easy birds. Now we'll talk about this pair. So these guys, we've got them back on eggs now. Now these are some birds I'm considering fostering. The reason being is I believe that might be a safer option, because I haven't got any youngsters from these guys, and we have the chance of egg pied hens. We have chances of other pies, because we've got these are unrelated to these guys, so I just want a few pairs of pies which I can do which aren't related at all, or not as related. Anyway, she's back down on I believe 5 eggs. Now what I've also done is we had 2 random stray eggs laid by the Bullfinches, which we'll talk about after this. So I've put 2 Bullfinch eggs under her as well, just so that we can get something else going with them at the same time, because a Greenfinch will be a Bullfinch. as we proved last year with one of them. So I'm just sort of hoping we might get something from that, which would be nice. We'll just have to see what happens, and it might end up where I leave her to do it herself and get her rearing her own. But if not, then I'll just feel that maybe fostering them would be a bit of a safer option, because I've got a canary that's a proven feeder. Whether we do that with the satinettes or we do that with the dimorphics, I don't know, but I just think it might be an idea to do that, so we can secure some that have been reared. And obviously I don't know why exactly the Greenfinches in here have been a little bit tough this year. Don't know if it's just a bit, it's because we're breeding them in cages and they'd rather be in flights or what, but hopefully they'll come round in time to come and we'll get there with them. So now we'll talk about the Bullfinches. I'm going to come to the youngster first. So the young bird is being reared by the 5 canaries. They're getting on really well. They've only got the one, so there's plenty of food to go for that one and not having to share it out between several. I am still topping that bird up with some hand rearing formula every morning and evening. The canaries are doing a fine job, but I just feel that giving it a little bit extra, because it is going to be a big bird. The Siberian bullies are big birds anyway. It will probably just benefit from it, so I'm just giving it a top up, and I guess it's just taking the edge off it for the parents as they're rearing that one bird. But either way, that youngster's doing well and it's rung now. We'll talk about the pair in the flights. So they have now rebuilt, but what they did about 3 or 4 days ago was lay 2 stray eggs in the nest, in the old nest. They laid 2, but after sort of dismantling the nest just on the wire grid, and they just clearly weren't going to sit on that. Anyway, I left the eggs for 2 days and she just didn't bother sitting whatsoever. So I removed those eggs and put them under the Greenfinch, and since then she's built a new nest, and I think very soon will probably be you know, another egg in there, and we'll be having them guys going for their own second clutch, and we've got 2 eggs secured which are under a pair of Greenfinches. Whether we move them under canaries, we might do, but we'll have to see. So that's the Bullfinches in the flight. Hopefully, fingers crossed, the eggs are full and we'll get on well with them. Now the Goldfinches, we've got the exciting news about. So we've got both hens on eggs. Each hen is on 4 eggs. One of the eggs disappeared from the normal hen, I don't know where. Only one of her eggs are full as well, but give it a few days and I think that egg will be hatched. But we've had the first Goldfinch hatch under those guys. So their youngster is literally a few hours old, getting on really well. The parents are, well, the mother looks to be feeding it, from what I've seen. Obviously it's literally just hatched, so it's not really going to be really desperate for food because it's living off its the yolk. But either way, it's good. The youngster's doing well and that's great. The other hen, so she's only got the hen who it's with has got 4 or 3 full eggs, so that's one of them. The other hen has got 1 full egg. So all I want to do is make sure that the hen with the 1 full egg, you know, I really want to get that youngster hatched out, to be honest. Check it, make sure I know which youngster that is, and then we'll go and put it under the nest with the other hen so she can go a second round rather than rearing one. She might not even want to rear that one anyway, but I'd rather just make sure I know which youngster that's from so I know who's related. But either way, good signs, a nice start with the Goldfinches after a rough first round with them. So really pleased to report that, and we'll see how they're doing next week. So we've got some good news and some bad news with the Siskins. So we're going to start with the pair that are in the other flight, and their eggs were due last week, but sadly I didn't get to show you in time because they literally were supposed to hatch on that day. Now, I don't know what happened. I genuinely think it might have been the changing weather, because it suddenly went from being quite cold and hovering around 10 degrees to 5 degrees. It suddenly shot up to about 20s, and I don't know if it cooked the eggs, killed them or what, but we had 3 eggs dead in shell literally the day before they were supposed to hatch. By the look of it, I gave them sort of 12-13 days, and then right, okay, they should really be hatching now. Gave them an extra 2 days, candled them, floated them, no movement. They were clearly dead in shell. Cracked them open, all 3 full, literally died. Must have been hours or a day prior to hatching. One youngster did hatch, however, sadly, I don't know what it was, but sadly the youngster didn't make it, and I found it dead in the nest before I could even know it was alive. So, a shame with the Siskins, but we've got the cockbird back in with her. Hopefully they go for another round, which I can't see why not. It's a young hen anyway. You know, she needs some practice, so hopefully second round it'll be a much better result. So that's one pair. The other pair are outside. Over the past week they have laid us some eggs. They laid a stray egg without building, just one egg, left it for 3 days and then built on top of it. I managed to rescue that egg, and I've actually got it down in a little nest down at the bottom, and I've put that just to the side for the moment. Anyway, she's built a new nest, and in that nest is 2 eggs. The second egg was laid today, so what I'm going to do is leave her to make the full nest, leave her with the eggs. As soon as she starts sitting, I'll put the other egg underneath her, so she's rearing all her own young. And that's my over-year pair, which produced for me last year, so I'm hoping they'll produce for me this year, and we'll see some good signs from them. So positive news with the Siskins, to be honest. Although we did lose the youngsters, they are going for the next round, so fingers crossed it works this time. So moving on to the final birds of this episode, we've got the mules and the hybrid pairs. How are they getting on? What's this week been like? So we're going to visit the, well, we've got a Goldfinch mule pair in here. Obviously, we talked about earlier, we've split the pair up just to leave the hen to rear some fifes. And then once she's done that, which will be probably 2 weeks' time, they'll probably be on the sticks, hopefully, fingers crossed. Then we can get the cockbird back in, maybe get some golden mules from them. But we've got some positive news to look at with the Goldfinch cross Norwich pair. Last week I made the decision that a external box like this clearly wasn't working for this pair, and decided to make a bit of a change. So I removed that and instead put a nest pan, and that's worked really well. She literally a day after actually putting it in there, she's built a nest. We put the Goldfinch cock back in with her once she began building. He threaded her immediately when I put them back together after being separate for a few days, which was great. So I'm just hoping we'll get some mules off this pair. That'd be lovely. Now, she's laid second egg today. Obviously a lovely yellow Norwich hen. So I'm really hoping that pair work. And we do get some youngsters. As you can see, the 2 eggs are in there. I'm going to leave her to sit these just to see if they're full. If they are full, I'll probably be looking to foster them out, because we don't know. You know, the Norwich are a bit unpredictable for how they're going to rear. So really hoping that something might come from that, which would be nice. Obviously, it's a lovely pair. We've got a lovely yellow Norwich hen and a yellow Goldfinch cock. So I'm just hoping that colour will be amazing, which would be nice. But we'll see what happens, and let's just hope to begin with that those eggs are full. And I think that's the first hurdle with this pair. So fingers crossed, but good news overall from these guys. So now we'll come to our hybrid pairs which are in here. We've got some good news, we've got some bad news. Now we'll start off with the bad news to then bring it up with good news. Sadly, the hybrid pairs from the Siskin cross Redpoll, those 3 lovely chicks, have passed away. Very unfortunate, very annoying in the way that it happened. Basically, this was, I believe, Sunday evening, and some word I can't say, so I'm going to say idiot, decided that fireworks was the best thing to do at midnight. So it's midnight Sunday, or Monday morning, it's midnight, and some guy person decides randomly, let's set off a firework. This was down the road. I don't know who it was, but then the firework went up, obviously, bang. And when I came in the morning, obviously I was really concerned, thinking, well, I don't know what's happened. Are the birds all right? And I thought, I'll probably be all right. All the rest of the birds are fine, and the birds that weren't was this hybrid pair. The mother had come off the nest, and sadly it was a bit of a cooler night and the chicks froze to death. I tried to bring them back round, held them in my hand for a good 20 minutes trying to just bring them round, and sadly it cost them. So it's gutting to talk about, to be honest, because I was so looking forward to having these guys. They look great, you know. I could see black feathers coming on them with a gold bar, and I thought we could be really in for some lovely little hybrids here. And sadly, after that had happened, we lost them. But it happens, sadly, not in a nice way. You know, you don't expect them in summer, especially. I mean, it's not even bonfire night, I don't know, it's just a random one for a laugh, clearly someone thought. But anyway, so what I've done is I removed the wire divider from this pair, put them back together, and we've put another nest site on. Now she chose this nest site actually. I've put a sort of like a Cecil fibre nest liner in it, and she's actually spent the whole day building in that. The other nest, well, she's looked at a little bit, but she's not that bothered. So actually, if we can get her in this, it's a bit of a better nest site in terms of it's a bit more private and what, and actually easier for me to access just doing that, and then I don't have to disturb the chicks. But that's that pair. And like when I was with the Greenfinches, this is the pair that were mating. I literally saw the hen squat and Siskin nailed it straight away, which is great. So hopefully some eggs from these guys, which are full. But then we'll move on to our cross-bill Greenfinch hybrid pair. This is where the good news comes in. The hen spent the last week building, and finally this morning we welcomed the first egg. I have seen the crossbill cock feed the hen, and they are getting on really well. So let's just hope that that egg is full. I'd love it to be, and obviously we had a bit of a nightmare start this year with our Greenfinch cock to a crossbill hen, with a bit of a freak accident there. But let's hope that maybe this hybrid pair click, which I think they might have done. We've got an egg from them. So I'm just hoping we'll leave her to sit it, and I just hope it's full. It'd be so nice to get a hybrid from them. So yeah, well, that's our mules and hybrids. That's a bit of an update on those guys. Bit of bad news, but a bit of good news. But hey, welcome to breeding birds. That happens, and we've just got to roll with the punches and get back up from it, which is sometimes hard because it is upsetting. But ultimately, I mean, you wouldn't do it if you didn't enjoy it. I enjoy keeping these guys, so much it is heartbreaking at times. I love doing it, and I'll always love doing it. So that's those guys. So that does bring us to the end of this week's episode, so I hope you've enjoyed it. Now, just a quick tip: because of the heat that we've currently experienced in the UK, we've gone from pretty cold temperatures to now 25 degrees pretty much every day. As you've probably noticed, I'm a bit burnt. I forgot to put sun cream on when I went bird watching the other day. But anyway, quick tip for that: I've been using a spray bottle. I have got the actual extractor fan at the end, but I'll just get this, spray it throughout the bird room, and it's just helping not only to take the dust down, but bring the temperature down and make it a little bit more sort of bearable for the birds. So I've just done that. I'll do that in the morning, afternoon, a few times a day when I'm home. It just helps bring that temperature down. So a quick little tip for you guys there. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. Although we've had some heartbreak, we've had quite a few newcomers, which is nice. And we'll see how they're getting on next week. We'll be ringing some youngsters, so I'll do a demonstration on how to ring them if you don't know how to close ring birds. And we'll just go from there. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you have enjoyed today's video, please leave us a like. Please subscribe down below, and I'll see you in the next one.